Hello, welcome to episode 1 of my YouTube channel entitled Relational Dharma. I'm Robin Stutzman, a senior mindfulness teacher in San Diego. I've been teaching mindfulness with a variety of populations in a variety of settings for over 15 years. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 25 years and have been a psychotherapist specializing in interpersonal work for over 30 years. Let's start off by unpacking that phrase, relational dharma, that I mentioned earlier. You may have heard that word dharma floating around and perhaps have thought it refers to some kind of religious or spiritual concept. Folks have told me that they think that that word maybe is related to karma because it sounds the same. But dharma is a Pali word, and its closest translation is nature. So it refers to the true nature of things, the natural, lawful patterns of things. Here in Western culture, we're familiar with natural laws such as gravity, right? That we live in harmony with. For instance, we don't ask why when an apple falls down rather than up, right? But we are either unfamiliar or reluctant to accept the natural laws that the word dharma refers to. In Buddhist psychology, dharma represents, among other things, three immutable characteristics or natural laws that apply to the whole universe. And we don't often live in harmony with them. These characteristics are things like impermanence, the fact that life is inherently unsatisfactory, and a tricky idea that there really isn't a fixed, solid sense of self for us to identify with. And even if we've heard about these principles elsewhere, we really resist these natural laws. And it turns out that resistance is a really big contributor to relational difficulties. I'll discuss these Dharma principles much more thoroughly in a later episode. Since Dharma is best understood as the true nature of things, the phrase relational Dharma then refers to the true nature of our relational challenges and provides a path out of them. I coined that term, relational Dharma, specifically with a focus on interpersonal moments of reactivity between people. You know what I'm talking about. We all experience these things. These are interactions where one or both people are frustrated, angry, or stressed in such a way that the other person also becomes stressed. Our primate mammal brain is intimately attuned to the mood of the pack. And although this was an adaptive trait in ancient times, and as we were evolving, to be sure, nowadays this biological imperative contributes to much of the conflict and stress between people and society as a whole. It plays out like this. When I'm interacting with someone who's upset in any way, my brain goes into a state of alarm, a fight or flight reaction, and I'll talk more about that in subsequent episodes. And when my brain is in a state of alarm, it shows in my facial expression, tone of voice, and body language, and the other person's brain picks up on that, and they, in turn, become more reactive. This sets up a dance of what I call co-reactivity. In relational Dharma, we harness mindfulness practices, and there are many, as well as the wisdom teachings of Buddhist psychology in service of toning down our interpersonal moments of reactivity. As we move forward, I want to emphasize that Buddhism is more of a psychology of mind than a religion, according to the Dalai Lama himself. And I'm with him because I consider the Buddha the world's first clinical psychologist, because his only concern was regarding human suffering. His main existential question was, what, when we do it, can free us from suffering? More about that later. In my more than 30 years of practice as a psychotherapist, I haven't found any more accurate or effective method of finding the joy and happiness that we long for. These methods of Buddhist psychology are laid out in my YouTube episodes and in my forthcoming book, The Dharma Effect, transforming moments of interpersonal reactivity into moments of equanimity. By mindfulness practices, we refer to the formal and informal meditations that many of us have heard about or even practice. By wisdom teachings, we refer to principles and knowledge that point to the true nature of things, and for our purposes, the true nature of relational suffering and the path out. In my next episode, I'll give an overview on these mindfulness practices and some of the principles, as well as discuss the human stress response and why it's so critical that we tone it down during stressful interactions. Until next time, be safe, happy, and peaceful.